Maduro's fall has put Venezuela's debt crisis back in the spotlight. One of the world's largest unresolved sovereign defaults is center stage. Years of collapse in US sanctions shut the nation out of capital markets, and by 2017, Venezuela defaulted on billions in government and PDVSA bonds. Unpaid debt and legal claims have swelled Venezuela's liabilities. Analysts see $60 billion in defaulted bonds, with total obligations up to $170 billion. Against a GDP of $82.8 billion, debt stands at 180 to 200%. Oil output has collapsed, inflation soared, and poverty deepened. Though production has stabilized, low prices and sanctions leave little room to pay. Caracas and Washington have reached a deal to export up to $2 billion worth of Venezuelan crude to the United States.
It's true that it's going to take a while before actual oil production in Venezuela will really pick up again. But we know that markets very often trade expectations, trade forecasts, and in this world, they will expect that oil production out of Venezuela will pick up over the next month and years.
Venezuelan bonds, once left for dead, have surged over 20%. Investors see opportunity in turmoil. Defaulted for years, they now hint at revival under new leadership. Hedge funds bet on debt restructuring that could unlock billions. It's risky, political chaos and legal battles remain, but for those chasing big returns, Venezuela's troubled paper is suddenly the hottest ticket around.
What are the goals of this imperialist war? To install a U.S. puppet government that will turn over Venezuela's oil and mineral resources to U.S. corporations and to force capitalist hegemony in Latin America.
With $19 billion in claims against downstream company Citgo's parent PDV far exceeding its assets, Venezuela faces mounting pressure from bondholders, arbitration claimants, and bilateral lenders like China and Russia. Absent IMF ties and constrained by US sanctions, its debt crisis remains unresolved. As creditors circle and politics shifts, the world watches one of the largest sovereign defaults collide with a nation struggling to rebuild with US-style corporate takeover. The Economic Brief, DD India.
Well, let's turn to Dr. Amit Kapoor once again, who continues to be with us. Dr. Kapoor, does all this that's happening in Venezuela, let's not look at the legal point of view or the politics and all that. Does it make economic sense?
So, like the larger point, as you say, like, is there an economic sense to it? Like, one, we have to understand that there is a severe debt crisis that the country faces. And how do we resolve for that debt crisis? Like, because as you said in your earlier report, like $170 billion is the kind of debt crisis that is there. And PDVSA, that is the petroleum company of Venezuela, which is one of the biggest defaulters. So what is it that we can do to recover? And if you're already talking about surge in bonds, there is a positive futuristic thing that is happening over a period of time. Because even if the politics is improving in Venezuela without a doubt, the math is going to be slightly tilted against Venezuela on this. But if you really look at the uncertainty over ownership, prolonged litigation that can actually happen because of assets, there are going to be challenges. But this is something very interesting that can happen, because if you're able to invest in the petroleum sector out there, there is a huge potential that happens, because Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. I think 17% of the world oil reserves happen to be in Venezuela, underexploited. And if that energy can be taken out of the ground, if the oil can actually get used, there can be a lot that can be done. But this is where, like Citgo, which is a US-based oil company owned by Venezuela, how it can actually perform. Can it actually go there and create more assets, create capacity within the, in Venezuela? If that can happen, if more investments can happen, yes, things can stabilize, because it is not something very brutal in terms of, say, 180 to 200%. There can be restructuring that can happen.
Yes.
But the larger question is going to be that how sanctions are going to get relieved over a period of time. As the statement of the press secretary from the White House, yes, of course, he said that there are some relief in sanctions that can actually happen. If that happens and the flow of energy starts happening, that is, flow of oil starts happening, there is a certain positive thing. But it's going to be a long, hard battle for Venezuela to really come out of it. It's not going to be something which is going to happen within a day. It's a marathon. It is going to take years for them to really come out of it.
Final question, what impact will all this have on Indian oil imports and refined petroleum exports from India?
I think the question is that without a doubt, India is one of the most important refining locations in the world. If you really look at Jamnagar, it becomes one of the finest locations. And looking at the Venezuelan oil, which is not something which is very clean, Indian refineries tend to get that benefit because if that dirty oil or not something which is very good comes to India, Reliance is one unit which can really do an exceedingly good job of it. They're supposed to be one of the finest refineries in the world. And a lot of people just don't even look at it. Like, in fact, they're one of the most cost-effective refineries. So there could be a whole huge positive thing that happens in terms of the trade that can happen. There are other mounting pressures, geopolitical pressures that exist along at this point in time. So India does see an opening in terms of how it gets out of the global headwinds and with the kind of clash that happens. So there are those politics
Right.
involved in it. But on a larger scale, I think there is a positive economic benefit for Indian oil companies over a period of time. And this will also reduce the what do you call oil prices over a period of time.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr. Amit Kapoor. Thank you for enlightening us on the situation in Venezuela and its impact.